Shut up and sit down.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Hall of Fame Dynasty podcast. It is just me, Chris, tonight. Jon was busy, Mac was busy, could not make it tonight, so you have to deal with me and my talking for how long ever we go. But I'm sure you'll live. We have plenty of fantasy football to talk about. We have what happened on the football field. I would say an upset, a huge upset, and then a few other games that were really close. I would actually say two upsets, and then a couple of other close ones. Giants Chiefs made it a close one. I thought they were going to lose, ended up not losing. But other than that, we also have to get into the hardwood tonight. Few great ones on the hardwood too. Excuse me. And then I don't really want to talk about hockey, but we're going to get into all the scores and all that, and we've also got to talk NFL playoffs. Lots going on with those final two seeds, especially after some results this weekend that were somewhat surprising, at least to me. But we'll get into all that now. But I want to start with the hardwood. And I want to start with the Toronto Raptors and the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks dropped this game 3 categories to 6. Not really far off expectations, at least my expectations. The Raptors have proven all year that they're still that championship team they were last year. Didn't lose that many pieces. Actually, I can't really think of any that they really lost. But there were some close categories. The Raptors won the field goal percentage quite drastically, though. It was .512 to .477 in favor of the Raptors. Raptors also win the three points made, 103 to 95. But let's get into the close ones. The close ones, the Dallas Mavericks almost had the Raptors in the rebounds. Raptors win at 320 to 314. But also on the flip side, another category the Mavericks almost lost was turnovers. Mavericks win that one 114 to 113. Get one extra turnover that I myself was hoping for, so it'd at least be a tie, so I could go up another half a game or half a category in the standings, but didn't happen. And the Dallas Mavericks put up somewhat of a competition in the points, losing at 930 to 1,074. Nothing surprising. I'm actually honestly surprised that the Mavericks stayed in this with the with the points. I thought they'd be closer to 700. I thought this would be more of a blowout, and the 3 points made. Mavericks had 95. I'm really impressed with that. And then you have to go to rebounds. That was probably the most surprising. With Zion still being on the bench for the Mavericks, they still put up a very great performance in that category. You can imagine when Zion gets back, that's a category that the Mavericks could potentially win almost week in and week out. But other than that, you always have the highest scoring out of the Toronto Raptors. James Harden, standout performance, had 179 points, 24 3-point pointers made, and if anything less would be quite awful. I mean, really, if only for James Harden. Other performances for the Toronto Raptors that stand out to me: Karl Anthony Towns with 14 3-pointers made, 116 points, 43 rebounds. Other than that, there was no real standout performances by the Toronto Raptors that are any better than what they normally have. So there you have it. Raptors beat Mavericks. But it was good. It was good until about Sunday, and then the Toronto Raptors started taking over the categories of the 3 points made and even field goal percentage. And if they can win field goal percentage, 3-pointers made, and points, they're gonna win a lot of weeks. Next game that wasn't quite as close was the Milwaukee Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets, as expected, win 6 categories to 3. Let's see. I'm looking at their summary now, and I see what stands out to me is the rebounds. The Bucks never had a chance. The Denver Nuggets win that category 346 to 142. Assists, Denver dominates. Steals, Denver dominates 45 to 29. This is probably about what I've expected. Nuggets really what made it as close as it really is the field goal and free throw percentages. But when you're only playing 36 people or even 40, that's kind of what I would expect. Nothing shocks me about this. But anyway, Nuggets win 6 categories to 3. The next games are the ones that are really close. And we're going to start with the Pelicans and the Bulls of Chicago. Pelicans have 12 more starts than the Bulls. The Bulls only have 37 starts, which is not a league low. The Bucks had the league low at 36. But nonetheless, Bulls make it close. Let's say they make it close in a couple of categories because it's not as close once you look at it stat by stat. Bulls with only 50 turnovers when you only played 37 players. What do you expect? Blocks 32, which was actually pretty good. So only play 37 players and have 32 blocks. That's pretty good. And I want to see who dominated in the blocks, because in my opinion, somebody would have had at least, I would say, 8-9 blocks for him to only play 37, but I don't see that. 7 blocks by Montrezl Harrell. I mean, that's probably the standout in that category, but nonetheless, let's keep rolling. Bulls win the rebounds 226 to 207. That's quite surprising as well, considering the start difference. Quite embarrassing, if you're the Pelicans. But other than that, I don't see anything that really stands out to me as great performances. This was actually a pretty bad performance by the Pelicans. They just squeezed this one out. If they'd played any other team, they probably would have lost 7 categories to 2. I mean, just being quite frank with you. But on to the next matchup. Let's quickly see if we can find us the MVP. I'm doing this on the spot, so bear with me for a split second on this one. I would say the MVP for me is Terry Rozier of the Charlotte Hornets. 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 7 steals, 68 points, to 10 3-pointers made on the Bulls. That's what stands out to me. But let's keep on rolling. I have the New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is probably my surprise of the week, considering some of the things that I'm seeing. Knicks do get the win, 5 categories to 4. But look at this. The Minnesota Timberwolves only started 26 players. Now, that's just not setting your lineup. No explanation besides not setting your lineup. But I can't believe what I'm seeing stat-wise as to how the Timberwolves kept it close. The Timberwolves did win the field goal and free throw percentage. That's not surprising. You're only playing 26 guys. That should happen. But when we get into the surprises, it's the blocks. Timberwolves win blocks 21-20. Keep it competitive with let's see. I would say somewhat competitive. 178-261 on rebounds, and 40 turnovers. That's not a shocker. I guess really when you look at it, it's not too shocking. The field goal and free throw percentage went Timberwolves' way, so that's if you get the field goal and free throw percentage to go your way, and you have less turnovers, you're always going to be in every matchup, no matter what. But nonetheless, what hurt them was the 25 3-pointers made, and really the assists with only 48 assists. Yikes, that's pretty bad. But nonetheless, Knicks win it in a very, very, very close one. Closer than it should have been. And really, LeBron James, of course, stands out for the Knicks. 24 rebounds, 46 assists, 5 steals, 2 blocks, and 104 points with 10 3-point made. Not bad at all. Now on to my matchup with the Los Angeles Lakers. We tie 4 categories to 4 categories with one category that we were even in, and that is blocks. This was close all the way around. Every stat was close except for rebounds and assists that were somewhat close. I mean, let's look at it. Hawks win 3-pointers made, 81-72. Not that far off. Hawks also win field goal percentage, .462 to .457. So 0.5 of a percentage. Second week that the Hawks have won that category. Lakers win free throw percentage, 832 to 820. Hawks win rebounds, 267 to 234. But in turn, Lakers win assists, 172 to 156. This is when you get to the really close stuff. Really, really close. Hawks win steals, 44 to 43. Now that's close. That's as close as you're gonna get. Blocks, Hawks and Lakers tie. Lakers win turnovers, 94 to 97, and they also win the points, 765 to 747. So this came down to the wire, and I was kind of watching it for the last few minutes, or the last day, because I was hoping that I would at least get a 5-4 win. Didn't happen, unfortunately. But you look at it. Kobe White with 14 3-pointers made. I did not expect that. He hasn't been playing that much up till this week. And then all of a sudden he hit 6 3-pointers in that game. 5 and a quarter. Impressive stuff. Trae Young hurt. my team so badly in the turnovers. He had 22 turnovers. That's just too much. But he did have 13 three-pointers. You kind of take that territory with you. Brian Forbes with 11 three-pointers made. Keep on looking for other standout performances. Nothing really that stands out too much. Let's look at the Laker side of the field. Laker side of the hardwood. I almost lost what I was gonna say. He had Anthony Davis with 18 rebounds, 11 assists, 10 blocks. Nothing super standoutish. Lou Williams, would probably be the standout for me on his team with 97 points, 19 rebounds, 23 assists, and 4 three-pointers made. Lou Williams won him a lot of categories this week. A lot of categories. But I think that wraps up the hardwood. Let's go to the standings real quick. Let's just talk about the standings for a quick second. I want to go over our current top 6. Raptors leading the top spot with 25 category wins to 10 with 1 tie. Knicks a half a game behind with 25, 11, and 0. Denver Nuggets 2 games behind the Toronto Raptors with 23 category wins to 12 with 1 tie. My Atlanta Hawks leading the Michael Jordan division with 19 category wins, 15 losses, and 2 ties. 5.5 games behind the the Toronto Raptors, and then the Lakers are half a game behind the Hawks with 19 category wins to 16 with 1 tie, and the Dallas Mavericks 7 games behind the Raptors with 18 category wins, 17 losses, and 1 tie. And then right behind them, shockingly, is the Minnesota Timberwolves with 17 wins, 19 category losses, and 0. And then everybody else below them is stumbling. Which the Pelicans, I do not know what. You can only say injury. What's happened to that team? They're struggling right now. We'll see if they can rebound. But that's all we got for the hardwood. Let's get into the ice. Unfortunately, let's see which one we want to start with. I want to start with the Alenium Mighty Ducks. I don't even know how you say their name, but Alenium Mighty Ducks is what I'm going to say. Playing the Chicago Blackhawks this week. Blackhawks, defending champions, lose 400.9 to 294. Ducks, second team this year, past week 1, to score 400. Blackhawks did it last week, and then now the Ducks have done to the Blackhawks what they did last week. But anyway, they did it on they did it on Connor McDavid's 51.1 point performance. That was a huge performance. I would not have expected it. Now these are some names I cannot say. I cannot say it at all. Jack Inc2, I can't say it at all. 39.2 though. Leon Destrani, 40 points. He really had. Jared and his Ducks really just had great performances out of players that are expected to play great. I would say, now I'm no hockey expert by any means, but I would say Jared had great performances out of the guys that we expect to have great performances week in and week out, and then he had solid performances other than a couple. Quinn Hughes, but I wouldn't have expected anything that great out of him. Um, Shea Weber had 22 points. Mark Storm only had 1 point, which was probably for me would be the surprise of the week for Jared. But he also didn't play in 2 games, so I can't take that much away. Now let's look at John's Blackhawks side. Not looking pretty in Blackhawk Town. Brandon Point, 5 points. Completely unacceptable. Ryan O'Reilly, 5.3 points. Josh Bailey, 4 points. Barrett Hayton, 0 points. No big surprise there. Jared McCann, 4 points. Let's look down the list. Garando, 4.7 points. And then you have to go down to Ramus Restolini, and then I cannot say that name to save myself. With 4.1 points. That's a surprise for me. So really all around, I would say John didn't have any great performances. Patrick King with 27. Steven Stamkos with 25. And that's really it. I mean, he lost. He just had an all-around down week in hockey this week. And I told him that his team's not what I expected to be at the beginning of not what I expected, but what everybody expected it to be, and right now it is true. Even though my teams look a little worse, which we're gonna get into in just a second, in just a few minutes. But let's get into the Colorado Avalanche beating the Dallas Stars 329.6 to 202.2. Oh goodness. Now we have to immediately look at this performance by Nathan McKinnon, 41.5 points. Other performances: John Carlson, 27.5. Kel Maker, 23.3 as a rookie. All of those impressive performances. I mean, he only had a 2 down performances. Devin Towns, negative 0.5 points, and David Ritchie with 2.2 points. That is not how you say that name, but that's all right. Otherwise, let's look at the other side. The Dallas Stars with 202.2. There's a couple reasons why they lost this game. Sam Reinhart with negative 8.8 points. That's an 8.8 swing to the negative. Now, granted, that doesn't make up everything, but you have to look at the performance by their left wingers. So they barely had 10 points, all 4 combined, minus Sebastian Aho with 22.4, which is a great performance. Don't get me wrong, but you have to have a great performance out of all your left wingers, and that just wasn't there this week for the Dallas Stars, and that's really why they lost this game. Had they gotten, now does that say? Let me take that back. That's why the difference is over 100, nearly 120. Would they have still lost? Yeah, they would have lost probably 50, but there's a difference between 50 and 120. Now let's get into the next game, to the next matchup. The Nashville Predators win 309.9 to 211.5. Well, we all know, which it does look like, oh my goodness, Steven did set his lineup some this week. He had 46 starts to Kevin's 57. Part of the reason why he lost, which I do have to say, in the Stars matchup, they only had 7 less starts, which, if you have under 50, I don't expect you to have more than 300, but he had close to 50 and barely made 200. Not impressive at all. But let's look at Steven and Steven and oh my goodness, Steven and Kevin's teams. Kevin, let's see. I'm looking now. His centers played great. His centers played really great. All four of them. Probably had about 75 of his points total. Evander Kane, 20 points. All around a pretty good performance for me. I mean, he's only got a couple of guys under double digits. Impressive. Now let's look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can't take too much away from this because I doubt the big reason why Steven lost his game was because he did not set his lineup. Had he set it every day, I think he would have had the starts and he would have made it a more competitive matchup. But he didn't, and that's really my takeaway from it. Now let's get into the last one, which will be the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. My Golden Knights drop another 3 in a row to the LA Kings, 312 to 229. Now, I have not reviewed this matchup yet, of why I lost, but I can pretty much tell you why I lost. 2 reasons. One, 2 of my best players, Sidney Crosby and one of my right wingers are out for at least a month. The right winger's out for 6 months. I can't say his name, so I'm not even going to try to. But secondly, my defensemen sucked this week. My defenseman, Kolowski, 2.9, which I picked him up, so I'm not really worried about that. DeHillen, the one I picked up in the three-way trade, he didn't play well, 8.7. Ryan Ellis, 8.7. Brandon Montour, 1.2. Colton Paraylo was probably my player of the week on defenseman with 16.1. And my goalies did not play well either, combined 7.2 points. On the other hand, Joe Pavelski, 21.6 points. I was somewhat impressed with that. And Max Pacioretty, whatever it is, left winger for the Vegas Golden Knights, 25.5 points on the week. Now on the LA Kings side, had several performances, but you can't miss this one. Keith Yandel with 42.3 points is the top scorer of the week. Very impressive. Along with Alexander Elder with 25.6 points and Nate Skimmett with 29.8. All those helped the Kings win, and I had 4 extra starts, which makes it even worse. It's that loss stings. That loss, got lost against the Blackhawks and Avalanche I could deal with, but this one was the worst one of the year. And I lost badly, so it doesn't help. Let's go with the standings real quick before we get into the football side of things. Ducks and Avalanche lead with a record of 5-1. Ducks hold the tiebreaker over the Avalanche with a 2-1 divisional record. At 3 is the Nashville Predators. Actually, it's oddly enough, which I'm looking at is because of the points, but not the divisional record. But they have a 3-0 divisional record, which is quite surprising to me. But with a 5-1 record, at 4 is the Chicago Blackhawks with a 4-2 record, also 3-0 in division. Kings and Vegas Golden Knights at 5-6, with 3-3 records. Minnesota Wild and Dallas Stars at 7-8. Wild at 7. Stars at 8. Maple Leafs with a 1-5 record, and then the Rangers with an 0-6 record. But we do see I do see a possible upset alert early. It's too early. I probably shouldn't even call it an upset alert, but 37.3 to 20.9 does the Rangers lead the Blackhawks right now. Although Monday the Blackhawks did not have anyone starting, so that's something to keep an eye on. I don't think it'll last, but well, you never know. Other than that, there's really nothing that stands out besides the Kings with 75.9 points, leading the Maple Leafs 22.2. Now it's time to get into what I am looking forward to getting into. Some really exciting stuff going on in the NFL. And we're going to start with our shockingly blowout of the week. The Buffalo Bills defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 175.4 to 138.8. Josh Allen with 33 points, 33.84 points. Shocking stuff. John Brown, 34.7 points, carries those Buffalo Bills. Mac has been riding those Bills since last season, and now they're paying off for him. Between them two, they combine for nearly 70 points, 67 or 68 to be exact. That's some crazy stuff, guys. I mean, it really is. Let's go down into the other performances. DJ Moore, no touchdowns, with 17.5 points, nearly 100 yards. D.D. Westbrook, kind of quiet, 7.2, only 32 yards. Zach Ertz, 18.4 points. Marvin Jones Jr., 2 touchdowns, 20.3 points. Goodness. Curtis Samuel, 6.5 points. Would have expected a little more out of him, but Carolina did not play well in that game, shockingly. Chris Boswell for the Bills scores -1 points, and then Carolina's defense is what the Bills has with only 5 points. All right. That's pretty good performances. I would say Robert Woods not playing would hurt the Bills, but it didn't. It would have if the Raiders had had better performances, which we'll talk about the Raiders in a minute. James Conner with 2.6 points. That's pretty bad. Other than that, Robert Woods he didn't play. Gerald Everett, 3 points. And not shocked. So those were the 3 standouts. They're going to have to play up better if the Bills are going to do anything in the playoffs, because it looks almost like a sure thing that the Bills are going to be in the playoffs. Honestly, they're probably in contention for the number 1 seed, which we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to spend most of the time on the NFL just with the playoffs coming so close. But the Raiders, nonetheless. Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr with nearly 20. Josh Jacobs with 14. Not bad, not great. I would say slightly above average. James White with 9.6, which is surprising to me. I would have expected him to be closer to 5 points this week with the Patriots playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Odell with 10 points. Not bad, not great. Amari Cooper with 6.8. That's got to go up if the Raiders are going to do anything come playoff time, or even make the playoffs, because that's looking kind of shaky at this point. Cortland Sutton with 18.22. Chris Godwin with 13.7. Darius Geis, 13.9. Not great. Not bad. Sony Michel with 6.4. That would probably be my surprise of the week for the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, 6.4 for Sony Michel is not great at all. I mean, you need closer to 15 out of Michel if you're gonna do anything. Debo Samuel 134 yards. A lot of it was on that 50-yard catch. And Greg Zuerlein with 5 points. All right, so one reason why the Raiders lost, one is they didn't start a defense or a second running back. No. Let's see. They didn't. Never mind. They didn't start the defense, or their tight end George Kittle was injured, did not play in the game. That stings. That's probably a 30-point swing right there. Potentially, depending on how great the defense played. Other than that, Sony Michel's got to play better for the Raiders. And David Johnson did not. I don't know if he played. He did not play. He did not even touch the ball. The Raiders have got to do something with that. The running back situation with the Raiders, they're in a tough spot, like my Falcons are in a pretty tough spot. Now we'll talk, but other than that, Bills beat Raiders. Now let's get into the next game. Oh, the Miami Dolphins. Oh goodness, beat the Falcons, 161 to 144. Almost 145. Oh, goodness. They were really carried by the Saints offense. I would say the Saints offense. The Saints and the Miami Dolphins offense. The real Miami Dolphins offense. 21.2 out of Drew Brees. 22.2 out of Alvin Kamara. 5.2 out of Latavius Murray, which could have been better if they'd started somebody else. I would have started somebody else myself. Deontay Johnson, 3.7, but he got injured, so it kind of doesn't shock me. Devontae Parker with the surprising 20.5 this week. Mike Guzowski with 5.8. Kenyon Ballage with 12.7. I expect Kenyon Ballage to get more with Mike Walton out permanently, or might as well be permanently, and the Dolphins just don't really have anybody at running back. LaShawn McCoy with 15.7, Jason Witten with that 8.3, Younghoe Koo with 8 points. That's been a story, and the Indianapolis defense with 10 points. All right, now let's move on to the Falcons. They had some really tough luck. Especially at running back. Brian Hill, 4.8 points. DeAndre Johnson, 3.4 points. DeAndre Washington, probably a bad start. Brian Hill, I would probably continue to start him. I mean, I expected more out of him. You get a touchdown, you're already over 10 points. But going on, Hunter Renfrow was a great pickup with 11.6. Calvin Ridley with a surprising 28.3 points this week. Strong performance. Juju Smith-Schuster with 4.1, but he got injured early in the game. Probably what lost me that one. I lost that one when that was over. Demaryius Thomas, 8.4. That was a pedestrian, 8.4. Jared Cook and Greg Olsen. Jared with 11. Greg Olsen with 10.7. I probably expected that out of them too. Kendrick Bourne with 13.1. I like it. Emmanuel Sanders with 6.3. I really hope for a lot better out of Sanders. Dan Bailey, 3. And the LA Rams defense with only 11. I thought they'd have about 15. That's pretty unfortunate, but we'll have to see what happens as we keep on rolling. But anyway, the Dolphins beat the Falcons in a pivotal playoff game for both teams. And we'll talk about why in a few minutes. Now let's move on to our next game. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs survive, playing in Denver with a score of 168.82 to 142.78. Goodness gracious, I tell you. Keith's Broncos did not There's a couple problems that I have and why they lost this game. One is their running backs did not play well, except for Christian McCaffrey had 30.1 points, strong performance. But Royce Freeman and Philip Lindsay, 9.5 for Lindsay, 5.5 for Royce Freeman. I mean, that's not great at all. Tyler Boyd with 2 points. I think he got injured, if I'm right. Oh, no, he didn't. One of the Bengals receivers got injured. Stephon Diggs with a strong 23. Terry McLaurin, which was a great pickup on the waiver wire by Keith, with 9.9 points. But Demarcus Robinson and Jack Doyle having 0 points is what cost Keith this game. Let's face it. But let's keep on going. Tyreek Cohen with 18.4 points. Ronald Jones and Jalen Richards didn't do anything. 5 points combined. Zane Gonzalez with 9 points. And the New England defense with 15 points. Strong performance by them as well. But you look at it, who they picked as their flexes were not great options. Ronald Jones may have been the only options, but they were not great options. And then Demarcus Robinson and Jack Doyle, 0 points. Even if they, out of all those, even if they could have gotten a combined 40 points between those 5 spots: Tyler Boyd, Demarcus Robinson, Jack Doyle, Ronald Jones, and Jalen Richards, they would have won pretty largely. And then their running backs didn't play well. Just not a great performance all around by the Denver Broncos. And we'll talk about them. They're on the verge of being out of contention as well. I mean, it's getting interesting for some teams. But let's go on to the next one. The New Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints came so close to beating the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys scored 202 to 193.26. 9-point game. I'm glad. I'm thankful that the New Orleans Saints lost. This was huge for my Falcons, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too, as well as to why. But he had some strong performances. Dak Prescott 31.5. Austin Eckler, which I wouldn't have expected him to have 23. Mark Ingram 23. Marlon Mack with 16, but he got injured. That stings for the New Orleans Saints. Michael Gallup with 23. Jarvis Landry with 14, but then you get into some pretty bad performances. Zach Pascal with 3.7. Mike Williams 9.6, which isn't horrible. Eric Ebron 6.7, but he got injured in the game as well. TJ Hawkinson with 1.6. And then other than that, it was the LA Chargers defense with 5 points. Really, you look at it, the defense is what made the difference. The Oakland Raiders had a surprising 16 points. Then again, it was the Bengals who they played. And the LA Chargers had 5. And if you flip-flop that, the New Orleans Saints would be winners, and they'd be well on the way to the playoffs with a probably 65 record or something. But let's get into that last game. The New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers. The New England Patriots stunned the Green Bay Packers 143 to 138. Green Bay has been up and down the last month. They have had some pretty strong performances. I mean, 2 weeks ago they had nearly 200 points. This week it wasn't there. Could be bye weeks. A lot of possibilities. But let's look at it. Their running backs stink. Duke Johnson 6.4, Devin Singletary 8.9, and Damian Williams 2.3. No way you can win with those performances. Mohamed Sanu with 3.2, Vince McDonald with 6.3, Russell Gage 5.2. Nothing that stands out at all. And the other week they did have something. I mean, that's the difference. Now let's look at the New England Patriots side. DJ Clark Jr. with 30.4. That's what won. He carried these New England Patriots this week. I mean, had New England not had DJ Clark, they would have lost huge because their running backs sucked as well. Rex Burkhead 6.8. T.Y. Montgomery 1.1. Adrian Peterson 5. And then you go down to Cordell Patterson with 0 points on the board. His wide receivers played really well, though, if you really look at it. Really well considering. I mean, as in better than average, I guess, or average. Julian Edelman 14.9. Taylor Gabriel 12.7. Mark Andrews, tight end, 17.5. And then Philip Dorsett, which he got injured, 12.3. The San Francisco defense stepped it up at the end of the game and gave them 17 points. So all around, not a bad performance by the Patriots besides the running backs. The running backs were horrible, and Cordell Patterson, 0 points, doesn't shock me. Now on the Packers side, they just didn't have any great performances at all. I mean, at all. They were just bad. They were just really bad all around. And you have those weeks. And Tom Brady for New England only had 8 points, which is a surprising thing for the Patriots to win with him only having 8.64 points. But it happened. Patriots win. That's that. Now let's get into the last part of this podcast today, and that will be the Hall of Fame Dynasty football standings. And right now, the Dallas Cowboys. I don't want to say the Mavericks. Oh my goodness. The Dallas Cowboys. Oh my goodness. At 9-2, Jared's Dallas Cowboys with a 5-0 divisional record, so they're pretty much on their way, barring any kind of surprising loss, to their number 1 seed, and they're going to keep that. The Kansas City Chiefs with an 8-3 record, only 1 game behind. So if for some reason the Cowboys slip up, the Chiefs would probably take over. But I do believe the Chiefs lost to the Cowboys, which is why the Chiefs currently sit in the number 2 spot. But anyway, the Buffalo Bills, winners of 7 in a row. Probably the most shocking turnaround. Great trading by Mac. 7-4 in the number 3 spot. That's probably the most impressive thing this season. To go 0-4 and turn around and win 7 in a row. Could be 9 in a row. I mean, if they win out. I'm not sure who they play, but we'll check on that. At 4 is the Denver Broncos, and this is where everything gets dicey and interesting. The Denver Broncos at 6-5. The Las Vegas Raiders also at 6-5. They're at number 5. At number 6 in the final playoff spot as it stands today are the Miami Dolphins. Now I know last week John told you that it was a long road and they need a lot of help to get in the playoffs. They really don't. If they win out, they're in. If they're gonna win out, well, we'll talk about that. But anyway, at 7 is the New Orleans Saints, 5-6, and then my Atlanta Falcons, 5-6. All 3 of us, Miami Dolphins. Really, 4 through 8 is all. They're all within a game. We're all within 1 game of each other. Even the Buffalo Bills, if they slipped up and lost 2 games, which I don't see, they could slip up and they could be out of the playoffs. I mean, so it is possible, but I think the biggest thing is I see the Miami Dolphins have a better chance than what, at least what I know John said last week, they would have. But let's look at the final schedules for the final 2 weeks. My Falcons play the Las Vegas Raiders, which that's going to be a pivotal playoff matchup. I think if I won that one, I would probably slip into the playoff spot. I have 2 pivotal matchups. I do know that. The Denver Broncos play the Miami Dolphins, another pivotal matchup. If the Miami Dolphins win that one, they're probably well on their way to making the playoffs. Pending what I see for Week 7. Dallas Cowboys play the Green Bay Packers. That's a bye week for the Cowboys. Chiefs play the Patriots. That's a bye week for the Chiefs. And the New Orleans Saints play the Buffalo Bills. 3 pivotal playoff matchups that hopefully, if we, depending on whatever happens, we'll get to talk about on Saturday. Hopefully, maybe it'll be us 3 again, but we'll see. Those 3 matchups are huge. Let's go into Week 13. The Falcons at Saints. That could be for a playoff spot. Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys. I would favor the Cowboys in that matchup. Chiefs Packers. Chiefs get another bye. Chiefs are well on their way to winning out. Raiders play the Denver Broncos, and then the Miami Dolphins play the New England Patriots. So this is going to get very, very, very interesting. It's almost if I had to sum it up, and I'm gonna wrap this thing up in just a second because we're running at an hour, and I don't want to keep you guys listening too long. But whoever listens, but anyway, I mean the Dolphins, I don't know if they're going to beat the Broncos, but they're going to beat the Patriots, I think. Assuming, barring that they have any really horrible performances. The 2 games that are going to really matter are the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos, and then the Falcons at Saints. I think if the Falcons lose this week, or my Falcons lose this week, I think we're done, because I don't see a 6-17 making it. I now think that unless the Dolphins and Saints lose their next week, we'd have to all 3 lose this coming up week, which is possible because the Dolphins played the Broncos. But I really would need a win this week. If I can get a win this week, Week 7, a lot on the line. But that's what I've got for this week. Thanks to everyone who listened, or a couple people, whoever it is. Thanks for listening, and that's all I've got tonight. Hopefully we'll be back Saturday. Me and Jon and Mac, or whoever ends up doing it. I don't know. Who knows? It may end up being a solo for one of us again. I don't know. But nonetheless, thanks for joining me this week. Peace out. Talk to you next time.